pose.
Vogue. Vogue it out.
Vogue.
Vogue. Vogue. Vogue.
All right. Welcome to episode 5.
We are still jamming out to our intro music. If you are too, please tell us what dance move you're jamming to.
We've been doing this for 3 days.
They just
Somebody
can't-
get us.
They just can't get out of the cycle of
We
the song.
can't get out.
Someone help us.
Quit violently dancing, ladies.
Yeah, Patricia's been arrested for violently dancing again.
I'm gonna call from prison.
One phone call.
Instead of, you know when you go to jail, you're supposed to like make the aggressive move so that no one attacks you. For her, she just does violent dancing towards them.
That is the aggressive move.
It is.
I'm
Supposed
like,
to
this
take
is-
down the biggest man in prison.
Exactly.
Don't
Don't
fist
why-
down and she just shimmies like violently towards everybody.
This is why I was originally arrested anyway. Just can't stop. Well. Anyway, episode 5, ladies, we've made it so far.
Woo!
Oh man, I was gonna ask you guys a question before we started recording, and now I still want to ask it of you.
Yes, ask.
Okay.
Ask.
So I was gonna ask you guys what you've been up to like lately, but I want to tell you that I just watched Good Omens finally from Amazon Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book by like Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, I think is his name. And forgive me if that's incorrect, but it's so good. I didn't expect to like it, but I really do enjoy the show. But the best part about the show was watching John Hamm run in gray sweatpants.
Does it...
Fair.
Okay, question. Does the gray sweatpants have to do with anything, or is it
Mhm.
just John Hamm?
It has to
Listen.
do with how hot John Hamm is.
So apparently, from what I read on the internet, so this is hearsay, but I guess John Hamm doesn't like to wear underwear.
So really, the gray sweatpants means nothing. It's just he's just not wearing any underwear.
Oh, it just, there have been other posts. I feel like John Hamm has like a secret like goal in life to get people taking pictures of him with his huge dong.
Is that what he's known for?
Oh,
Oh,
don't
he's
know.
known for that, yeah.
You
Oh.
need-
Oh, yeah.
you
How
need
is this
to
a known
take some-
thing?
Because
you need
he
to use
wears
some-
sweatpants
With no underwear.
You need some
Duh.
Google time by yourself a little bit later.
Oh, boy.
So we know what Patricia's Google search was right before we came here.
Should I wonder if I kind of want to look up our last Google searches.
Mine's gonna be boring again. You guys go first.
I'm so
What was
curious.
your last
I'm
Google
so curious.
search, ladies?
I have to go. I was not prepared.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it was Gene Memory.
What? Wait, how do I find this again?
I wanted to make sure I spelled it correctly because we were in like a text battle earlier, and I wanted to bring up Gene Memory as a point of, I don't know, winning any argument.
Wait, so how do I find this again?
Your last Google search?
Yeah.
I mean, is everything incognito? Is that what you're telling me?
And that's a yes.
Oh!
Oh
No.
my gosh.
Yes, no,
She
you have
is
to.
blushing.
I mean, if it's John Hamm in gray sweatpants.
I feel like it's a
Okay,
adult rated
so-
section over there.
Okay, so I did have, I guess, so my first like few were like, so I've been watching Good Omens, and they have, the names in there are like historical names and have meaning. So I was like, Amazon Prime Video is my first recent one, but then it was like Azrael from Good Omens. So I wanted to see like what that meant. I didn't understand. Oh, my watch isn't listening to me. Then like a couple other
Technology.
names in there, like Simon Pulsifer. I was like, then like number 6 on there, John Hamm gray sweatpants Good Omens.
Oh,
Nailed
that's not as
it.
bad as I thought it was
No,
gonna
but
No, it's not
listen,
that
be. Or hoping.
there's an I think it's like episode 4, but I messaged my friends and I go, thank you for telling me to watch this show. That's all.
I mean, I've not watched the show, but I also really like Michael Sheen.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
I'm just a very big fan.
yes,
Me too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
I
like
gotta,
his nose.
I gotta share my last Google search because it's actually more interesting than anticipated.
Then John Hamm gray sweatpants.
Yeah, I was reading in Scotland. There's an IKEA that's opening, or there's an IKEA there, and apparently there was an article written about how people RSVP'd to an underground hide and seek game in an
Yes.
IKEA
They've
in
had this
Scotland.
before. Yes.
Well, so then I was looking at the article's picture, and there were tons of Asian people in the IKEA picture. I'm like, there's no way there's that many Asian people in Scotland.
They all
so
go.
I went to look it up, and it basically in Scotland, There are not that many. So Scotland's South Asian population of more than 80,000 is mostly from Indian and Pakistani background. So I was like, you know what, article? Why wouldn't your article match the population / have you lost your credibility?
Yes.
I'm just saying. So
my
that was my
Gene
last.
memory would say, do not go and hide in random places. Even if it was for a game of hide and seek.
But
True.
I
You
think
will be found and
that'd be
thrown on a
so fun, though.
train.
Do you know the game, crap, what is it called? When you hide with a person? Sardines. So it's like
Oh,
the opposite
yeah,
of hide
yeah,
and seek,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like one person hides and everyone has to like hide with them when they find them. It's my favorite form of hide and seek. But imagine doing that in IKEA. I would just get in a bed and have people get in bed
You
with
gotta
me.
get in like the top bunk of the we made an entire apartment out of 400 square feet.
I feel like Stephanie, you'd be like, I am lamp.
I am lamp.
You
Just
just
mirror
stand
the
really, just
lampshade
mirror the
over me.
lamp. It's like, where's Stephanie? It's like, fucking Stephanie's a lamp again.
Why is she always it?
You never saw me.
But just imagine like in a huge bed they have on display there, and so eventually everybody's just like laying in bed together. That'd be my ideal.
To lay in bed with strangers.
Yeah.
I just want to be
Yeah.
super clear about this. Okay,
I need
understood.
my separate bed. Made this very clear.
From last episode, yeah, last week. Anyway, what's been going on with you guys besides Googling amount of Asians in Sweden, Scotland?
Scotland. Yeah.
Okay.
Not too much, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I am going to be making soap. That's
Out of
out of
people's
oils and lard
So
for.
not whale blubber?
Well, I actually am going whale spearfishing this afternoon.
what?
No.
I was going to say, if that's true, I will go with you. And by go with you, I mean push you off the side of the boat before you do anything.
Can you imagine me whale spearfishing?
No. Yes, actually, I probably could.
No, I never
That's
want
so
to
aggressive.
picture that.
That is aggressive.
So aggressive. Anyways,
Yeah.
no, so I'm making soap because it's going to be one of my surprise, but not surprise to you guys, a party favor from the wedding. So
Oh.
I'm making homemade soaps.
I can't wait.
Yep, I'm a
It's very
hippie on the
nice.
inside.
But not on the outside, you just shower.
On the outside, I'm just all gangster. On the inside, I'm just churning butter.
Amish on the inside, gangsta on the outside.
It's a little bit of Weird Al, like Coolio.
With Coolio.
Yeah.
It is
Yes.
their actual mixture of gangster
Gangsters-
/ Amish
Gangsters,
paradise.
Amish paradise, an Amish gangsta. One time when I was used to be a little bit more insensitive than I am now, and I know, all jokes aside, but we played soccer in Iowa one time for a soccer game when I was in college, and we stopped in a parking lot that had a bunch of Amish buggies, so I started rapping inside the bus the whole of Amish paradise.
That's not as insensitive as I thought you were going to go. That's not that bad. I think a lot of people know all the words to Amish paradise.
It's
They
also
didn't-
just
they didn't do my-
impressive.
It is. I really enjoy Weird
I was
Al.
just inspired.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
do
oh
too.
yes,
I
I've
mean-
got to get the song in my head now
Yeah.
before we play a game.
I mean,
Anyway.
if you haven't seen UHF, that's one of my favorite movies.
I haven't.
Yep. So you guys ready to get into the questions for
Yes.
this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Woo! I believe I am question the first.
All right,
Answer
premiere.
me these riddles 3. No, just kidding.
Bring it on.
So in the last episode, I talked about dating and being a serial datist a little bit.
I recall.
And so this one, kind of going on the same vein, is I would love to hear your worst dates that you've been on. So please, whoever would like to begin, even if you want me to start, what is the worst date you've been on?
Oh, I have a few examples, but I've got one that like takes the cake, takes the icing. Is that what's that phrase? Takes the cake.
Takes
Takes
the
the cake. Okay. So this is when I was in college. There's a guy who asked me out multiple times in college, and I was just like, no, you know, like I just he wasn't my style. I think I was attracted to him. I thought he was cute, but because my friends were like, oh, it's Brian, I was just like, kind of, I just didn't give myself the
Brian.
chance like to date him appropriately. However, it was like Thanksgiving Eve, and everybody had gone home except for he and I. It felt like on campus. So he called me. He's like, "Hey, I see you're here." Number one, creepy. He's like,
I see through your bedroom windows that you are still here.
You're still on
And
campus.
my binoculars are showing that you are wearing.
I see.
He's
that
like,
you're-
my infrared show that you're approximately
Your
this
heat map is
temperature.
showing up.
No, but he called me. He's like, "Do you want to go hang out tonight?" And I was like, "Okay." I had nothing else to do, so I was like, "I'll go on a date with him."
Poor Brian.
Poor Brian. And I told this story to some friends at work like a few months ago, and they made me look him up on Facebook and show him to them, and they go, "Oh, girl, you made a mistake."
Ooh, is he
Just
like
by
a
the
JT?
photo, fully judging a book by its cover with that one.
Yeah, he's definitely glammed up, or what's it, glowed up.
Oh, you're saying mistake is in he got
hotter.
Oh.
Yeah. But whatever. Anyway, so he called me and I was like, "Okay, fine." So he's like, "All right, I'll be over at like 6." So he came over at like 6 or so. And at this time, it was starting to get like cloudy, gray sky, and I was like, "Oh, maybe we'll get a little bit of rain." It was looking cold out, so we went first to a movie theater. He's like, "Let's go see a movie." And I was like, "Okay." Went to the movie theater. It was on fire, so we were like, "Okay."
And there was a burning bush.
So we were like, "Let's go to another theater."
Was
So-
this after you made sure nobody died, or were you just
No,
like,
we're
"Oh, that building's on fire.
It's
Let's
on
just
fire.
leave."
So yeah, let's go to a different one. So we went to another theater. This theater had closed early because it was Thanksgiving Eve, and we're like, "Well, crap, what are we gonna do now?" So he's like, "Oh, let's just go get some dinner." I was like, "All right." So we went to a restaurant. By this time, it started snowing, and because of that, it's supposed to be like a big snowstorm that I wasn't paying attention to. But the snowstorm it started coming, and the first restaurant we went to was closed. And we're like, "Well, crap." And it wasn't that late. It was just like they're preparing for the winter or whatever, for the snowstorm. Then we went to another restaurant, and it was like the waiting line for it was like way too long. So we're like, "Screw it." So we took off driving again. He goes, "Let's just go to Walmart." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Let's go to Walmart." So we went to Walmart, and he goes, "Is there anything you need?" And I go, "I need a clock." Which we were having this discussion before we recorded my podcast. I live in a studio and I have 8 clocks in my studio.
It's Clockwork Orange up in here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I went to the restroom and there's a really cute clock, and then I realized that ticking sound was from somewhere else and not that clock.
It's coming from inside the house.
Actually, it's like an Edgar Allan Poe, and someone has like cemented a clock into the wall.
Oh my god.
I am just I don't know, I just don't want to get rid of clocks once I have them. So if I get a new one for like design reason, I just have so many clocks in here, it's ridiculous.
We can go into just so many depths of that, like, weirdness of having clocks everywhere, like stolen time and gaining time and parts under the floorboard.
Shh, don't give away my
Cats
secrets.
in the walls.
But anyway, Brian and I went to Walmart for our date, and he bought me a clock and flowers and bought a movie, and we would take it back to his place and watch the movie, which seems really sweet, but it was like just uncomfortable for me because I didn't want anything really like romantic with him, and he was like trying to put his arm around me when we watched the movie, and I was like, you know, when you like lean forward until you're like almost falling off the couch kind of thing, and I felt bad, but it was just
uncomfortable.
a very awkward, weird date.
That was your worst date?
If we would have gone to best dates, we're
not going best. We're going worst.
But I've got like I've been on some really, really good dates too.
Oh,
that was like
that
my
was
worst date.
not the question. Okay, all right. Let me paint you a
Judgment on
picture.
her bad day.
Let me paint you a picture.
Okay, paint me a picture.
It is
Michelangelo.
It is the evening of SantaCon.
Oh no!
Mhm,
Oh
mhm.
no!
I decide it's an okay time.
What SantaCon? You need to explain, I think, to people. who
Oh,
don't know.
SantaCon is where a bunch of rich white people decide to dress like Santa Claus and go bar hopping, and they're all horrible.
Or they dress up like deer. But what I've also seen is mild blackface during these events.
Yeah,
also.
no,
It's
nothing's
been pretty
okay with
bad.
that.
It's been
Nothing
pretty
is
bad.
okay
Yes.
about SantaCon. But to be fair, I'm the worst. Okay, so I was actually a part of SantaCon many, many years ago when I was in college, and I ended up on the Travel Channel because of it.
What?
Yeah, I'm on the Travel Channel as part of Extreme Parties
Oh, okay.
because I was in SantaCon, and I have nothing but disdain for it. Where people like the Travel Channel crew was like, "Why do you come to this? What does this mean to you?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's an occasion for everybody to come together." And then my good friend who I named on like episode 1 or 2, Lacey, with the Sharknado situation, was there too, and she was like, "It's about the love, man." I was like, "Oh,
And then did you
God
say?
damn it!"
Did you say L'chaim?
L'chaim.
Because that would have been appropriate. at
It would have
SantaCon.
been appropriate. I don't know if I did or didn't. I don't remember. Anyways, so forward in time, it is now the evening of SantaCon. SantaCon is dying down because everybody gets too trashed around 2 or 3 o'clock and starts to call it a day. I go and meet a guy in Union Square.
Wait, was this planned?
It was planned. I had not remembered that it was SantaCon because, I'm in my 30s now. So I meet him in Union Square. We decide to go to a bar. And before we get into the bar, he's like, hold on. It's like, all right. And he opens his jacket to pull out a flask.
Okay.
Because he does not want to pay for a drink in a bar when he can just bring his own in a flask. Should have been, sign number 1, go home. I did not go home. We went into the bar. He's drinking out of his flask.
What did he have in the flask? Because
I had 2 flasks.
He had 2 flasks.
One was vodka, one was bourbon.
Okay. I just wanted to know if it was like Jose Cuervo.
No.
That would also change the date.
Pretty sure it was like pop off. Like vodka.
One round of Jose
So,
Cuervo.
yeah. So we go into the bar. We play like a quick round of pool.
Okay.
As you get kind of further south from Union Square, it kind of gets a little bit sketchier. We decided to go to another bar from there. I had known early on, like, I don't know if this guy's decent enough, so I immediately become friends with the kind of bouncer at the door.
Mm-hmm.
I do that almost everything,
Yep.
every time. If there is somebody at the door, I will make sure to be like, hi, please remember this face in case it like disappears.
In case you see it on Tinder.
So we try to go like down the street a little bit. We're now at like Mason and Powell, which is like, I know it gets a little scary. And this guy I'm with, I don't know who he thinks he is, but he thinks he can talk to anybody.
Oh no.
So he tries to kind of confront somebody for doing literally absolutely nothing. There's this other guy on the street, and this other guy's like, look, you need to like back up, get away from me, like back up. He's not backing up. And this guy opens his jacket to reveal he has a gun.
Oh,
wait, the guy you're on a date with?
No. The guy that my date is confronting.
First, I was going to say, how many things does this guy fit into his jacket? 2 flasks, a gun.
Seriously,
Next
it's like
thing,
an
hold on,
Inspector
an
Gadget
umbrella.
jacket.
Yeah.
No,
Mary
it's this
Poppins
guy he's
bag at that
confronting.
point.
Where he's like, hey, like back off. I've made it very clear, like, why are you talking to me? What are you
Yeah.
trying to do? Get away from me. So yeah, he shows his gun, and I'm like, I'm going to go back to that bar we were at and just sit next to this bouncer. He comes back. He's not, hurt at this moment. And he suggests we go somewhere else. And it's kind of a question of like, why do we stay on these bad dates? I knew very early on this guy was not great. Why am I still on this date with him? I honestly don't know. But he suggests we go somewhere else. We try to go elsewhere. The place is closed. Like a couple other places are just closed. So we end up going to Embarcadero.
Oh, not Walmart.
No, not Walmart. So we just go to the Embarcadero, and I'm like, I kind of want to leave, but I don't know. I feel bad about it, and this guy clearly doesn't have, like, I don't know. He doesn't understand boundaries. So I'm sitting there with him, and I'm, like, kind of trying to talk myself out of leaving the situation, and he decides to just start full-on trying to make out with me.
Oh,
After it's like,
yeah.
he just, like, had a gun basically pointed at him. I'm running back to a bouncer, like, trying to get all the help I can get. This guy tries to make out with me, and my first instinct is to just say out loud, oh, you're trying to do this now.
Oh, you're trying to do this? No.
And just like have to push him aside and basically be like, all right, I need to, I'm gonna go. One little detail I left out, I probably should not have left out, is he had neglected to tell me until I met up with him that he had lived with his ex-girlfriend and that she still technically lived there.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going home with you. I don't know why I'm still out with you. Yeah, and I eventually...
Were you still dressed up as Santa at this point?
I was never dressed up for SantaCon.
the beard was still on.
The beard on this entire time. No. So at that point, after he tried to make out with me and I pushed him away, I was like, okay, now it's like actually my time to just call it. I don't know why I lasted as long as I did and got in a car and left and blocked him.
That sounds creepy.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Very good.
What was your scary or worst date ever, Ashley?
I haven't dated a ton. I'm not gonna. This is gonna sound. I'm gonna sound like an asshole. I don't feel like I've had that many bad dates.
It's not an asshole. That's being lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, Was the conversation maybe not so great in some? Maybe not, but that wouldn't warrant like, oh my god, this is the shittiest date with a gun. I mean, you really set the tone.
I know. I also had a guy spit on me.
Oh my goodness.
He considered it foreplay.
What?
Dude, he's a guy who grew up with like servants. Like he literally grew up with servants. And he had spit on me. I was like, did you just fucking spit on me? And he was like, yeah, I think he was like super hot. And I was like, don't you ever fucking spit on anybody without their permission? And just kind of like
That's
pushed him
so
away
awkward.
and left. Like I've had
No.
my fair share of terrible men.
Yikes.
So let me tell you about this. Do you guys remember the website Hot or Not?
Yes.
So I was on Hot or Not back in
no,
college.
Why?
Well, no, like looking through and stuff.
Okay,
like,
good.
And this was like before eHarmony and all those like dating sites came around, right? So back when it was like brand new, I was on it and I met this guy who was going to law school near me, and we started talking and we were like, let's go on a date. It was fine, but my friends, because this is still like early internet dating age, my friends are like, we want to come and be in the background of this date, so that way if you need an escape, you can find us. So I arrived. We met up at like this pizza chain place in Kansas City, and he gets there, and he's really nice. You know, we're chatting and having a good conversation. But then, as we were waiting for our table, behind him, so like I was staring at this guy, behind him, my friend and her boyfriend show up, and we're like right there within my line of sight, and they're talking about me the whole time, but like using a different name, but saying things are obviously me. So I was having the hardest time just trying to like stay focused on this guy. And he ended up being extremely boring, so I'm kind of glad they're there. But when we sat down at a table, they asked for a table that was like in my line of sight too, and they're like being very ridiculous, like tucking in napkins into their shirts and like dropping food all over each other and stuff like this. It was so funny. Like it was a bad day because it didn't go anywhere. Although he wanted to like call me on his trip home and like talk the whole way. I was like, nah, dude, I'm good, thanks. But
That's sweet.
But I mean, that
sweet.
kind of goes into the second part of the question of this guy is super boring. You're feeling zero connection.
Yeah.
What keeps you there? Is it just straight politeness? Is it fear? For me, with these bad dates, it was fear.
thirst.
But when they asked,
Thirst from their side, fear from my side.
Yeah.
when they asked you, was it online or was it in person to meet up?
Almost always online.
Okay.
Fair.
And I usually meet at a public place. I start public. I always start public
Fair.
because it is an initial fear almost all the time.
I went on a date with a guy one time who talked about world population for pretty much the whole date. He's like, this country is not populated fast enough to maintain their birth rate, like, or whatever. And I was just like, what? it was so
What are you
awkward.
insinuating?
And he kept talking. He knew a famous like Hollywood actor too, and he kept saying like, "Oh yeah, when this guy and I hang out, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, you're whatever. Get over yourself. You're too LA for my good. Like, whatever, leave." But he was
Interesting.
cute, so it was fun to look at him.
I think it's different. Well, so you know when we were talking before, like I didn't really date during the time of dating apps, so it's very different. Someone were to ask me on a date, it would just be like in person, and so I feel like from a lot of those other times, it wasn't like actually on the date, but if they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I really want your number," so I'm Asian, and like if I meet someone at a bar and they're like, you know, tipsy or whatever, and they're like, "I want your number," I'm like, I don't want to be Asian girl number 435. Like no. And so I feel like that helped to deter a lot of shit dates. Mostly because
I'm gonna
I was
use
just...
that line now too, even though I'm not Asian.
Well, there was a guy once who was like, "What's your Asian name?" And culturally, a lot of like Chinese people have a separate Chinese name from their like American name. But for this specific asshole, I decided to make up a sound and a meaning.
that is
And I
perfect.
had him repeat it to me because it was clear that he was very fetishy, like of just Asian women. And so, yeah, I just like made up a sound and I was like, it means sunshine and happiness.
Wait, what was the sound?
It's super racist. I don't even know.
Okay.
But I'm like, if you're going to go down that route, then I'm going to call you on it.
I have complete respect for that.
I
I am still not seeing somebody permanently, but yeah, I need to be better at this whole either confrontation or being like, all right, this isn't working. We just need to call it quits. And I don't know. One day I'll get there, hopefully. Until then, I'll keep explaining my terrible dating stories. But what? Go.
Or I was gonna say, or you bring Patricia and she'll do her wingspan walk,
Just the
and
wingspan walk in front of me.
That will be the physical deterrent of
I
the
like
date.
it. I like it. Perfect. I'll keep bringing up bad dates as we go on. All right, but we got to go on this next question.
Okay, so that is me. So I love music. A
Me
little
too.
while ago, I mean, when I was in college, I did a radio show. I just like love music. Not everyone does though, which is also strange when you meet those people.
Yes.
I've definitely met some of those people.
Why do you think people don't like music though? Anyway, another question.
We'll talk
another
about
day.
that another time because I don't want to talk about any of my siblings' girlfriends. But my question is, if you could have any singer's voice, which singer's voice would it be? And does that change if it's a man or a woman?
Quick question though: does this
Yes.
include their singing ability and like their control over their voice, or is it just like their voice?
It could be either.
Okay.
It could be either.
Okay.
All right. I think I have an idea.
Okay.
Me too.
You want to go first?
Sure. I think Lady Gaga has, though you may not always agree with her on things or like her style of music,
I love her.
her voice is so strong and she has such pitch control over it. I love it. Like there are times when she did those songs with Tony Bennett, which was like the weirdest combination ever in any kind of album history, in my opinion. However, I think the way her voice sounds is incredible. I wish I could just emulate that.
That's solid.
Yeah.
I would. Okay, so my choice might. I don't know. I don't think it's that strange. I would actually choose Ariana Grande.
Oh.
Because
Strong.
one, I think in general she does have a very good voice. I think she can tailor her voice to be a bunch of different genres.
Mhm.
But most importantly, and why I chose her, is she can do impressions of every other singer. So you're
Really?
basically getting like 10 singers in one.
Can you do an
If you
impression of
choose-
Ariana
I
Grande for us?
cannot.
Can
I
you
have a
please do a
terrible
Celine
singing
Dion
voice.
one, please?
Oh, I love Celine Dion. No, I can't do impressions very well. But yes, I mean, I would choose Ariana Grande. I mean,
Isn't
she's
there like a video of her when she's like a kid in
Yeah.
her car singing and she's like belting out
there
songs?
is that, but she's also done a couple of talk shows, and they'll like spin the wheel of like who to impersonate. And
Yes.
it's really, really funny. And that my second choice is kind of similar. It would be like Christina Aguilera.
Oh, love she.
I mean, her voice is incredible,
Yeah.
first and foremost, but she can also do really good impressions. And same with like Kelly Clarkson. Those would be like
Oh,
my
yeah.
three if I could choose three.
Yeah.
All right.
Because they could just do all the impressions, which I think is more entertaining to me.
Yeah, Christina Aguilera is definitely on my list. I
Oh.
mean, if there's a goosebumps moment from a voice, it's definitely her. And she's just incredible. It's like she has the volume, she has the power, she has the ability to like place over emotions.
The control.
It's the control, and there's so many musicians who just auto-tune everything that you don't actually even know what their voice sounds like.
Mhm.
So, do you guys watch Tiny Desk concerts?
I've watched a few. I watched like crap. What's her name?
Lizzo?
Lizzo. I've seen hers.
Yeah.
love
Thanks for knowing that was Lizzo by that definition.
Yeah, I
Description.
Lizzo's
Well,
incredible.
and you haven't?
I have not seen that.
So Tiny Desk concerts are awesome, and one artist who came on was T-Pain, who basically like started autotune, right?
Oh, he can
My
sing.
He
flippin'
has
floppies.
Yes, he has an amazing
Yeah.
voice.
He
It's
was on The Masked
incredible.
Singer. You remember? Did you see that show? Or like they came out like
That
dressed up?
show was so bad
It
and
was
so
so
great.
bad. But I still watched every episode. But he
Ah, so
won
good.
it
I mean, he's incredible
because he could sing.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
So definitely
I think I
Christina.
haven't tweeted that actually. T-Pain can sing.
T-Pain.
I did. It's in my history. Anyway.
You're gonna do that from our handle. That's our only tweet from What the Fact.
T-Pain can sing.
sing.
And then every other tweet is just about T-Pain's life. It's like not even about our podcast
Check
anymore.
out our Twitter account, guys.
Yeah. I think the second singer's voice I would love to have is Anthony Hamilton's voice. Have you guys heard him?
No.
Oh my gosh, you guys we'll play it. We'll have to listen to it later.
Can
But
you
his
emulate it for us?
no matter what the people said.
That was okay. I see now why you would choose that voice.
76 is like.
No, this is happy.
He has like a very sultry voice, and it's
Okay.
very emotional, and again a lot of control. And he's just, you can tell his voice quality is really solid.
Yeah. If I had to choose a guy, Michael Bublé, because I feel like it's effortless quality.
Oof.
Because I feel like he could just be like, "What?" and everyone would be
Wait,
like,
could you do that
take my
again?
underwear."
I couldn't hear that. Could you do that again?
No, it's
Please.
one.
I did
Oh,
Anthony
I
Hamilton.
Listen to the pod.
I have not thought of. Oh, I need to think of a male singer, don't
But
I?
I think I'd choose Michael because I feel like he just barely has to push any air out of his lungs and it sounds good. He has like a good like vocal cord
Hold on,
quality.
I have to go. I'm sorry. I have to consult Google on this because I don't want to get the name wrong of who I want my male.
It's just like
voice to be.
Aerosmith, and she's like, "I had to make sure it was
It's just
Aerosmith."
It's just Aerosmith.
Aerosmith.
Are there any other singers?
That I would choose.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would see. I'm so afraid. Like, I feel like a lot of them use autotune, and I know
Yeah.
like Lady Gaga has just like a strong voice. Idina Menzel
Oh yeah.
has a very strong voice as
Yeah.
well.
You know who I like that might be controversial?
Bring
I
it.
like Miley Cyrus.
She has.
I
a
love
great
Miley
voice.
Cyrus.
I like Miley Cyrus over Taylor Swift. I'm
Oh,
saying
I
it.
love,
yeah.
No, I mean, I really enjoy them both.
I
They're
choose-
both
I choose
great. Yeah,
Miley
Miley
over
Cyrus
Taylor.
has an incredible voice. I found my male singer, by the way.
Who's your
Who is
man
it?
singer?
He's since passed.
Oh, Kurt Cobain.
No, you're kind of on the same
Vein.
Yeah, but not Scott Weiland,
From
Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh.
I love his voice. I love it so much. But I also think there's a lot of memories associated for me in Stone Temple Pilots, so I would choose him just because that voice just reminds me of.
Well, I
Why?
remember even songs with profanity were like sort of a big deal when we were younger, and now
Yeah.
it's like
Oh,
very open.
I have a quick story on that.
Yeah, bring it.
So my oldest brother was really into rap, as most people in the mid to late 90s were. And my parents were like, okay, you can listen to this, but we're going to also play it loudly in our Previa with all the kids in the car in like Thousand Oaks, California, just
Yes.
blasting Tupac.
But here's something that if you look back at like 90s rappers and like songs that were like a little risque back then, you're like, this is like in today's standards, you're like, they're not that bad.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They were nothing.
It's like California Love feels like a pop song,
right?
actually.
Remember the song
Taylor
Let's Talk
Swift
About
do.
Sex?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Let's
that's
talk about
nothing now.
sex,
That is
baby.
nothing.
That's true.
But here's-
Seriously, during
yeah.
so in the last like week or two, they had the VMAs and the Video Vanguard Award went to Missy Elliott, and
Love
Missy,
her.
is
Me too.
everything. But if you actually listen to her lyrics, you're like,
Is your
oh
Flamingo
my.
Blam yet?
Seriously,
Yeah.
you're singing along, not really realizing. Oh man,
Yeah.
this is vulgar.
Flip in and reverse it.
Ah. Yes, so good.
I love me some Missy though.
So,
She,
so
if
good.
I were to choose like a woman rapper, it'd probably be Missy because she just has control over that. Like,
Yeah.
all
Well,
the time.
and she's just a legend.
Did she write all of her lyrics?
I believe she does.
That also I have respect.
And
for,
she
too.
writes lyrics for several other singers
Yeah.
as well.
I think that's the same thing with Lady Gaga though too.
Yes.
She writes all of her lyrics. So it's like there's something. And Kelly Clarkson, I believe, writes a lot of her own stuff. I think there's something really amazing about the singers who
Agreed.
actually do end to end of their like,
Yeah.
craft.
and can actually play like a musical instrument as they
Yeah.
sing. So
Yeah.
like one thing I never really cared about Taylor Swift, and she may be a good guitarist, like guitar player, but I always feel like she plays like two chords and like hands a guitar off to go on stage to sing
Yeah.
some more. Whatever, like at least she can get those two chords. Good for her. But I always have a lot of like mad respect for those who can like sit down and like rock it on the keys or
Yeah.
do well on the guitar.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
as they
one
sing.
of the main reasons I chose Kelly Clarkson as like I guess number 3 is she has a history of if you're in a concert with her, you could literally just shout a random song and her and her band will just do it.
Really.
It's awesome.
Which is just incredible.
What song would you sing? Like shout that like throw her off.
I would probably shout like a late 90s like grunge song, like some Alice in Chains, like something
Oh.
really intense that you have to like scream but still hold the notes.
Yeah.
Because I think
Do
it'd
you
be really
remember-
cool to hear her sing like Rooster.
Well, you remember like Ben Folds and he had to like
Oh, yeah.
what was the name of the song that he started singing? Bitches ain't shit.
or wait, when he would play on what that roulette thing? Do you remember? It was like a little sensation for a bit, like chat roulette.
Oh,
And
yes.
then he
I
would
loved
be
that.
on chat roulette, like playing a song, and he was like, "Why is there a penis?"
Oh, chat roulette.
Oh my god!
Things we'll have to teach kids someday. Be like, there was once a thing called chat roulette and Omegle where you go online to talk to people, but it wasn't
And
really
see
talking to
mostly penises.
people.
Yeah, so weird. Like I think about that. You know, if 10 years from now, when people are like, there is a thing called Snapchat where people would just send pictures of their penises to each other. It's like, why would we do that as a society?
Nobody wants that.
No one wants that.
But here's the thing,
Oh,
it's gonna get worse. There's gonna be something out there that's gonna overshadow that someday. We're gonna be like, Snapchat was so innocent.
That's
Oh,
true,
no.
huh? That scares me.
Like, what's next? 3D images of yourself. You like spin
3D
around.
images, you're stuck in a penis.
Oh,
It's just like, what?
please, no more. No more of that.
No more.
I hope that we swing back to not be so sensational. You know what I mean? There's only so
During
much.
our break, where I'm not going to talk about this on the podcast, but I need you to read a text message that I have of basically why we really need to cut out this shit of like sending penises and saying things that are so vulgar and make people so uncomfortable.
What if
Nobody
you just-
wants it. Nobody wants it.
Nope.
I'm just gonna draw a penis on like a notepad and just send that to all my guy friends. Be like, here's my dick pic to you.
Actually,
Seriously.
I've heard of some women just getting random pictures of penises and sending them back to men on these
Or
dates.
finding their parents and sending them to their parents and being like, "This is what just your son just sent me this."
You know, I respect that.
I completely respect
Nothing is harsher than a mother's wrath.
Anyway.
Anyway, so yeah. Well, that was a good discussion from singers to penises.
It doesn't take much to get us to penises.
seriously.
How many steps?
Apparently none. So on to your question, Rebecca. Rebecca.
Rebecca?
I was just
I feel like we've known each other long enough for you to call me by the correct name.
I'm so sorry.
that. Rebecca is actually her stage name,
But it's
Only when
where
switching
she is
stages.
dressed as a giant penis.
And she's stuck in a 3D penis.
Rebecca, get out! I can't.
Fucking Rebecca.
I've been stuck in here for 4 days.
I feel like Rebecca and why are you stuck in the canal for days?
Listen, I'm just continuing the story, okay?
Where nobody
Improv.
helps her.
I
and she's
feel
just
like-
constantly in a reality TV show.
Where she's like,
Where am I? Whose penis is this?
Oh no. Oh no.
a common question Patricia asks on the daily.
Where am I? That one.
you as the listener pick and choose. So Patricia,
6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon to a penis of some sort.
Patricia, your question, my friend.
All right, my last question for this pod is this. I don't want to get too deep with this question, but just think about something in your life that you regret that is still kind of silly. So we have regrets in life, like, oh, you know, like they're really deep. Like, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have chosen this major or whatever. But like, think of something that's like, this one time if I would have just done this one thing, or something funny that you think about frequently.
I have one.
Okay.
Go.
So when I was living in Hawaii with my oldest brother Garrett, there was a night that has gone down in infamy where he is now referred to as Batman. It starts where we go to a bar called the Irish Rose.
Okay.
It was right across the street from where he was living. And I went there. I had made a few friends. We were all just hanging out, playing darts, drinking. And it got a little bit late, and we had to get on a flight the next morning to go to LA to see my parents. And I called it quits pretty early, around like 8 or so, as I normally do. I wake up the next morning. It's like 7 a.m. And I have a bunch of missed calls from my brother. And I didn't hear any of them. I go into the living room. He emerges from his room, and all he says is, "Oops."
What?
He emerges from his room. He has 4 of those like heart monitor stickies on him.
What?
Turns out it went chaotic at that point. He doesn't fully like remember where he went. He ended up going to the hospital, and that's why he was trying to call me. And I guess he went to a 7-Eleven across the canal, and they had looked at his ID, saw it was military, and just basically like called a cab to get him to the hospital, but he wouldn't get into the cab. And it was just all of these pieces that were missing from the story. And he had a fake Batman tattoo on his arm.
It's like Memento, right? Remember that movie Memento where he had like tattoo his body because he had like short-term memory
Exactly.
loss?
Exactly.
Yes.
So he was just like, we joked that he was considered Batman, and when we came back from LA and like we went to apparently that same 7-Eleven he didn't even remember going to, and they're like,
Oh
oh my
my
God,
God.
it's you. And it was this whole like hangover moment. We're trying to piece back together what happened to him that night. And so my biggest regret is not staying
Oh.
with him to see what
Oh my
happened. Not that
gosh.
would have changed the course of action, but we could have at least pieced together most moments, because like so much of the night was gone. He ended up in a hospital clear across the island. And like people who worked at the 7-Eleven knew who he was, and he was like, I don't know who you are.
So your regret in the story is that you didn't stay awake with him?
That I didn't stay with him at the Irish Rose to see how this would have ended, that he ended up in a hospital with heart
Oh my
monitors.
God.
I just envision like years later from the generations of the 7-Eleven, there's like a, you know, some sort of picture of him in the back.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
He is a legend. He is fucking Batman. Come on. It's incredible.
Oh, man.
Also, to this day, I now have my phone closer to my head when I sleep.
I don't have this. This is not a regret, but one time I took Midol, and it was like a Saturday morning. I took Midol, and I woke up in the afternoon, and I had, in my sleepwalked to Little Caesars and ordered breadsticks.
What?
Yeah.
You got dressed. You were wearing.
I hope I got dressed.
I mean,
I don't know if I did.
as we learned a few episodes ago, Patricia also frequently asks, "Where are my pants?"
So I woke up, I was wearing like shorts and a tank top. That was it. But I woke up, so I'm very sensitive to like any kind of like Tylenol, anything that goes in my body. I'm very sensitive to it.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, take that where you want. However,
Amnesia
lot.
can happen.
Takes a lot.
however, I took Midol, and it was like Midol extra strength, whatever is my roommates at the time, and I woke up with like cramps. I was like, I gotta take something for this. But I woke up at like 5 p.m. that night after like taking that Midol, and I was like, I'm not really hungry, but my breath kind of tastes garlicky. And so I went online to like my Bank of America account, and it said I had spent like $1.99 at Little Caesars, which was like a block away from where we lived. And apparently I'd walked to Little Caesars, got breadsticks. I don't know if I ate them there, ate them walking back, what the heck happened, but I could have been like the legend, Batman, who some girl showed up and just ate, like zombie, like 8 breadsticks in the lobby of
I
Little
demand
Caesars.
breadsticks.
It's like this high schooler who's like, it's $1.99. Patricia comes back. It's like not even her own apartment. It's like someone else's
It's
apartment.
my apartment now.
The funny thing is, they kept moving me around from apartment to apartment before they
Exactly.
finally put me back in bed. I don't know. But I don't recall any of that. And my keys were in the same place they were when I left them, so I'm like, okay, we either put them back or hopefully I just walked there. But it was
Wow.
creepy. I
So
don't
your
take
regret
Midol.
is not being awake for that?
I just don't take Midol anymore. Midol for me is like the worst drug for
I
my
love
body.
that that's your poison.
It is.
Midol.
Premenstrual medication is your kryptonite.
Oh
It
my
is.
God.
I woke up though and I was like, I just felt like I was so hungover. I couldn't I felt like I was floating when I was taking steps. It's like, man, that hit me so hard.
That's intense.
Maybe my roommate had put something in there besides Midol.
You actually got roofied.
Yeah.
So I was
Words
reading
for
my
I
go-to.
mean,
roommate-
that's not funny, but considering how every episode is just about you ending up on some show.
Where are my pants? Where are my
Asking where your
breadsticks?
pants are.
Oh,
But
man.
I don't know. It could have been that she put something else in there. I don't know. But I've never thought about that till now. That maybe it wasn't Midol. But I've avoided Midol since then.
Yeah, that's a horrifying experience.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not my regret, but
Anyways.
it could be a regret. What's your silly regret, Ashley?
Mine is. So we were in Hong Kong for a wedding years ago, and I can speak Cantonese. We went to the local fruit market, and we got these little fruits, and I didn't quite understand the translation of what she was telling me.
Mm-hmm.
So you go back to the hotel, we like clean it off, and I'm just like going at these like little, they're almost like a little bit larger than plums, and they're orange. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, they're delicious.
Like
and I'm like,
kumquats, kind of?
yeah, well, we ended up finding out that they were baby mangoes. But
Okay.
anyway, so I'm like eating it with the skin. I'm like, it's so delicious. And my man's there and he's like, I really don't think you should eat it with the skin. And I was like, no, I spoke to her. She said, just like wash it and then wipe it off and it's good to go. So anyways, I freaking love fruit, and I ate 3 of these at the time. I didn't know, baby mangoes. We were supposed to do a bus trip to a small fisherman town. where you basically point to the like fisherman boats and then they cook the food for you at the restaurant associated, like just right up from the dock.
Oh, that's cool.
So we went there and we ordered a crap ton of food. And to get there, you have to basically take a train and then a small winding bus into this village. So we ate all this seafood, and then I'm like, oh no, Felix, I don't feel right.
Uh-oh.
We ate a ton of seafood, and he's like, it's okay, it's okay. And we like get into the bus, and I'm like, oh shit, it's winding. So
wait,
it's
the
like,
bus
why-
was or your
the bu-
stomach?
a little bit of both. And
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah. And I can throw very easily, not as a brag, but as just my stomach is the stomach of a 95-year-old woman.
Oh,
We'll get
cool.
into a scuba diving story later.
Oh, yes. So then we get to the train station. I'm like, well, I gotta go. And I'm just like, "Bleh!" And then we get back to the hotel room, and I'm like, I go in the shower because I'm like, maybe the steam or something will help me. All I remember is that I was like, my man. I was like, I'm gonna go in bed, and I basically fell asleep with just my hair wet, passed out because the mango was just killing my stomach.
Oh.
So silliest regret is that I should have known in not America I should just not eat the skin peels of other fruit.
Fair.
So yeah, that's my
Cool.
regret.
These are good stories. I appreciate them. All right, we're going to wrap it up here because I feel like we have reached our max amount of time for this episode. And thanks again for listening, guys. We are, again, open to requests for questions. So hello@WTFAQpodcast.com. We have a few, but we wanted a couple more for our next episode. So thank you for thinking of those for us. And we will be back next Monday with another episode and hopefully more questions.
And more listeners.
And more listeners.
So tell your friends about us.
Tell your
Sonny.
friends. Give us a 5-star review.
Now listen here, y'all.
Listen here. Listen here. Give us a 5-star review and tell all your friends and neighbors. And
Yay!
your friendly neighbors. All right. All right. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening again.
Bye.
Bye.